Hey everyone, we are back in Nimby Rails to do the only thing we ever do in this game, which is continue to expand our train network. Welcome back. Check out the previous episodes if you haven't, and let's get into it. My current plan, last episode, I built this network down in Orem, and this train line stretching down to Orem, and then this light green line up north of Park City. And the plan this episode is to more or less keep building in this Utah County area. I'm going to be building in Provo for sure, and then we'll see how much time I have if I'll be able to start building up probably American Fork, Pleasant Grove, Lehigh, this kind of northern Utah County area. So after that, I'm going to set up another train line. I'm going to start my second train line as opposed to the tram lines. The second one's going to be moving up and down the Wasatch Front, which is going to be all the way from, probably Logan down to like Nephi or Ephraim or whatever. The real Wasatch Front is like from North Ogden down to Spanish Fork. And so I'll start building the first little connections of that, which is going to be between Orem and Provo. So that's going to be today's episode. Let's cut to the time lapse. My process for building the trams in Provo is pretty similar to the way I went about building them in Orem. I start, of course, by setting up the train station, and then just with the tram stops kind of all around Provo. Provo is interesting in Utah because you'll see those blue spots? That's even denser than any of the purple or pink areas, which means it's actually some of the most densely populated parts of the whole state, even more than Salt Lake, which Salt Lake has a lot more population, but it also just sprawls on forever and ever. So like some of those dorms in Provo, because that's where BYU is, those dorms are really... They've got a lot of people in them. So I did pack the stops in a little bit more. You can see the zones that each tram station is covering. They're a lot less circular than they have been in the previous ones, and that is just because of that increased density. I want to make sure I have enough stations that I'm like covering everybody, and there's not like one station that just has a ton of people going there, and it's just super crowded all the time. And whenever the trains go there, like they get all full and there's crowding. You lose a lot of money that way. So I'm trying to get it all covered just a bit more thoroughly than I did over in Orem. Provo is kind of interesting just in general. Because of Brigham Young University, which is the Mormon university. That is, the main thing in Provo, and the main reason you'd go there is because of the university. And so like you'll get a lot of stuff that's like tuned to college students, but like specifically like Mormon college students. So you won't get so many like, your bars and stuff, but you'll get a lot more. There's like cookie stores and soda stores and stuff that kind of replace that. They kind of fill that niche instead. Besides that is the Provo River we're crossing there. You'll notice I have to use a viaduct to cross it. Normally, just regular crossings would work, and they did up in Midway when we crossed the same river, the Provo River. But I guess in this case it is a bit wider. That's also the canyon we came down to get to Orem is Provo Canyon, which was carved out by the Provo River. So it's kind of interesting that it got wide enough you have to use a viaduct. There's like a maximum width you can cross with a standard crossing. And so those crossings will cover like roads and stuff, and like smaller rivers, but they won't cover bigger rivers. Like if I go down to St. Louis, I won't be able to cross the Mississippi River or the Missouri River with just a regular crossing. I'll definitely need to do a viaduct. That lake you can see over to the left is Utah Lake. That's actually why this county is called Utah County, is because of Utah Lake. I don't really know much about it. It's like a big freshwater lake that a bunch of rivers empty into, and then I think it drains into the Great Salt Lake eventually, which is one of the few places in America where like rivers will drain into that's not the ocean, which is kind of interesting. You'll get like the continental divide between the Atlantic and Pacific, and then also like another divide between like stuff that drains into the Great Salt Lake and just eventually evaporates there. So like kind of the towns surrounding Utah Lake are what constitutes Utah County that I've been building up so far. All right, and I've set up the tram system for Provo. I think I'm just going to check back in a little bit after I've built the train network and connected that up. So I'll talk a bit more at length about this in a sec. This is a pretty quick project. I'm just connecting up the existing train station I already had in Orem down with the new train station down in Provo. And I'm going to have a new line kind of running between those, the Wasatch Front Runner. You can see I'm using the viaduct again there to cross the river just because it gets wider. Front Runner, it's called that because it runs along the Wasatch Front, which is kind of the most populous area of Utah. That's where most of the people live. It's like Salt Lake, Utah County, where I've been building up north. As opposed to southern Utah or the Wasatch Back, which are some other areas you might go to. We've already been covering the Wasatch Back so far, and then we're moving into Utah County. Alrighty, now that all that's set up, I can tell you a bit about what I've got going on here. So the first thing is note the train line. It's actually different from the train line I had earlier. I considered making it part of this Wasatch Back regional connector, but no, this is going to be part of what's going to end up being like a longer line kind of running up and down that way. The Wasatch Front Runner, which is a real train we have in real life. And obviously I won't be following that exact same path, but I'll be connecting cities along the Wasatch Front. And then in Provo, I've got 4 different lines, which let's open these up. Yeah, okay. So we've got, first up at the top is this north loop where I've got a clockwise and counterclockwise line. Not much to say there. It's connecting these. Then going to the train station is going to be this east line that moves up and down there. It's not so popular because there's fewer stops, but it moves all the way up to BYU, which is the main reason Provo exists. And also, we've got the west line that kind of travels up this way, and then also we'll go over there to the train station. So that's pretty cool. I've got this little section of track that I built. I thought I would use it, ended up not using it. It's just how it goes sometimes. In terms of money, I'm making pretty decent money. You know, kind of depends on the day, but 1.6 million on weekdays. And as you can see, I still have a lot of loan money that I can use to keep expanding. So that has not been an issue for me. I've seen some other Let's Plays where they've run out of money and they've had to leave the game on for forever to work up enough money to expand anymore. I don't know, maybe things have changed about the game since those were filmed, but so far that's not been an issue for me. Anyway, I think I do want to keep building this episode. Suppose, yeah, I think, let's turn on the population map. I could expand my tram system to cover this kind of area with Lehigh, American Fork, Pleasant Grove, Highlands, Cedar Hills, all of this kind of northern Utah County area. And that won't fill out this whole area, but it'll get a lot of it. Now this area that I'm building right now, I'm currently calling just North Utah County. It's further north of Orem. That's not like an accepted name for it, but yeah, it is further north of Orem. It's the north part of Utah County. That's, again, like, these areas are just kind of too boring for me to talk about on their own. Lehigh, American Fork, Pleasant Grove, they're all just like places. They've got people in them. If I'm being honest, they're pretty ugly, same way as Orem. No offense or anything, but just like the way they're designed is very like, kind of like very designed around cars, not so much around the trams and such that I'm putting in here. But there's a lot of people there. It comes up a lot of area. And because of that, actually, this project took a lot more time than I expected it to. I was kind of thinking, hey, maybe it'll be like an hour job, same way that Provo and Orem were. But I guess I just wasn't paying attention. I was a little blind because, wow, it's a fair bit bigger than that. It took probably an hour 20, and I was moving pretty quick. Plus, like, buying trains and stuff and making it all work. There were a few issues I had with the way I lined up the tracks originally that I had to do some redoing. You might see a little bit later because the trains would run into each other. It was not great. You have the collisions, and I had to pay a lot of money to get those fixed and get the trains back put where they need to be. But it ended up all right in the end, and I kind of figured it out. Turns out the trains run into each other in this game, and that's not an issue I was really expecting. Maybe I should have been with the amount of effort that goes into simulating each individual passenger and stuff. But, I just didn't really consider that they'd have collision. I don't know. I really like the way the map is laid out. I got to encounter some new areas in this working on this video that I hadn't really seen before, like some new textures. You can see there's a rock texture there right now. And And there's some like turquoise, like wetlands looking places, which those are like kind of cool, like surrounding a little pond or whatever. I hadn't seen those earlier, and so I don't know. There's like still plenty of stuff for me to discover about how this game works. Obviously I haven't touched like going underground with a subway or whatever, which I'd like to do. Maybe not even in Salt Lake, because Salt Lake is not that dense. Like I said, Provo is the densest part, and it is. Salt Lake, it's got more people, but it's just like it doesn't have like super, super dense areas that I think would necessitate a subway. The roads are all super wide and like giant blocks and stuff. So I don't know if it would actually be more effective to use a subway there than like just trams. Then again, it sprawls so much, maybe the subway's worth it. I don't really know. Like you can cover a lot of distance. You can see I went around the lake there. That's because I don't want to cross the lake or the river. River crossings cost money, and I don't want to spend money. That's kind of just a core principle of this game, is that you don't want to cross stuff that if you can avoid it. You can see I'm doing a couple more junctions than I was last time. That's because I'm having like kind of a weird line layout. I'll explain it in a little bit, but yeah, the lines are laid out so you can have the same station have multiple lines serving it. And so because of that, I need to have junctions between different tracks where, like, you'll have a train coming from one way that gets to the station and come from another way. Yeah. Anyway, by the way, it's kind of been a long time since I've uploaded a video. I'm getting this one out soon. Turns out I've had just like a lot of college applications and, that kind of work, which has kept me busy. Hopefully that's getting all resolved around now. And I'll be able to get these out a little more frequently, but no promises on anything. I'll try to post regularly, but obviously I can't guarantee that. Now you can see I'm stretching the train network up there, so you can connect up to that station, and eventually, you can see now why I had that as a different line. Eventually, that'll reach up all the way up and down the Wasatch Front if I keep playing this game. We'll see if I lose interest. Probably not. It's a pretty interesting game. I've stuck with some games for long enough to make some pretty cool stuff. Anyway, not so much to say, honestly, about this area. I was saying it was pretty boring. I don't know. Lehigh, they did pretty well in high school football this year. American Fork, I went there once. I think I had like a friend who moved there, unfortunately for them. I don't know. It's just kind of a boring area, but hey, I'm trying to cover everything, trying to be thorough. That's just how it goes sometimes. And maybe we'll get to some more interesting places in the next video. And I've finished that tram system up here in North Utah County. And this is my whole train network now. You can tell it's kind of a major area. There's a ton of people that live here. I have to have a ton of, stops and lines and trains all set up to get it all handled. Let's take a look at the lines here. In the time lapse, I didn't buy the trains. And now I have them. There's a lot of trains. Actually, let's just take a look here. Okay, so we've got several lines. We've got first the North Utah County North lines, which there's this one and this other one. So they kind of follow a similar path, but they kind of diverge here at the ends. So this one goes up to Sunrise Summit Park and Hayes Park, whereas the other one kind of goes down over there and down here to Olympic Park. And I haven't renamed the stations. Some of them, like this one just called Frisbee Golf, I'm going to have to rename the stations. Well, maybe I won't. Anyway, so that's kind of what I got going on there. And then we've got this one just down south of it, which is the North Utah County center line. I guess those aren't loops that I was talking about earlier, just lines. We got the center line, which just covers a few stations that weren't hit by the other ones. We got the south one, which is pretty dang long. It covers just kind of a lot. There's a lot of trains on there. And then there's the east line, which goes up and down on the east side. And kind of near the east line is where you can see that I have the Wasatch Front Runner connecting that to Orem and Provo. So now you can see why I didn't just extend the Wasatch back connector down to Provo, because I'm going to have kind of a line going up there and down south, down to Springville, Spanish Fork. Probably, this is all the building I'm going to do this episode. Next episode, the plan is to kind of finish out Utah County with, this like southern stuff and Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, that kind of area. Yeah. So in this episode, I'm just kind of covering this north area because that took a long time. There was a lot of lines to set up, a lot of building. There are a lot of trains running there. You can see the center line is the smallest one, and it's got 3 trams. And then I've got, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the east line. And the north lines combined have 8. And then another 8 on the south line. So there's just kind of a lot of trammage, and I'm doing pretty well accounting-wise. Let's take a little look. I've got a little bit of boarding failed full train, but no one's refunding because of that. Bought some new trains yesterday, so I just turned the game speed up. We might be able to get through to the end of Thursday. Well, I guess the end of Wednesday. I can't figure out why it does this. If anyone knows, tell me in the comments why it says it's Wednesday up there, but my Thursday numbers are coming up on here. It's probably got something to do with time zones, but I don't really know why it would work that way. Anyway, you can see I'm making money. I'm not losing any money for refunds. I'm getting about 4 million in fares on a Wednesday and Tuesday, a little bit more on Mondays. So that's kind of what I got going on. I didn't have to increase my network in these other areas, even though, I added more passengers to the system. I did increase my number of front runner trains, but usually, like in the past when I've added more lines and more catchment to the system, everything just needs more trams, more trains, just because there's that many more people able to ride in the Midway Heber area. Like when I just set up that, I didn't need very many vehicles to handle them all. But then when I connected up to Park City and Orem, then people can ship in from Orem, get off at that station, then they're going to be riding this line to whatever their destination is. So I had to get a lot more trains. I didn't really run into that so much with this expansion, but presumably as I expand more, we'll have more of that to deal with. And then, I said next episode I'll be finishing up Utah County, this kind of area. This is Utah Lake, which is why it's called Utah County. It's kind of the area surrounding Utah Lake. But then presumably after that, there's kind of a few main population centers in Utah. There's the Utah County area. Then there's Salt Lake, which is this enormous thing here. That'll take a while to get finished up. And then you kind of get like northern Utah area, which is like Bountiful, Layton, Farmington, Ogden, Roy. So I'll then expand up to there. And then theoretically you could go up to like Logan, which is close to the Idaho border, and then start going down. I think the next major city I want to expand to besides Salt Lake would be Las Vegas. And before then go through St. George and all these other random cities along the way. So that's the future plan. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll catch you all in the next episode.